What are properties in Logseq and why are they so much better in the database version of Logseq? Let's go on a journey and figure it out as we go. So what you're seeing right now is the Markdown version of Logseq. As you can tell, if you've used the database version, you'll notice that the UI looks pretty similar. So what happens when you create a page in Logseq? So this is a journal page, and if you're not familiar with Logseq, it works in a way so that every day that you open it, it automatically generates a new journal entry. So you can think of the front page, the journal page, as the main, it's the meat of the, right? This is where you put everything. And those notes that you write on the journal page, so for example, this is an ephemeral note, right? So this can be an ephemeral note, right? About we'll make a page for this. So favorite car, for example. Now I've kind of created a permanent entry here. So I've created a separate page for my favorite car, and it can be, let's just say Nissan Skyline 32, and that can be details about that car, right? And this is kind of the permanent entry, right? So in this video, I want to go over what properties are, and first I want to show you how things worked in the database version of Logseq. So if we see, I have this here, right? And I'm starting to forget how to use this. All right, so the easiest way to understand what a property is in Logseq, whether it's in the Markdown version or the database version, is metadata. So you're creating metadata. And if you don't know what metadata is, which is ironically getting quite meta, metadata is data about data. So it would be information about this car, right? For example. So we could write a property for, so in Markdown, so I wanted to show like the difference between Markdown and the database version. So in the Markdown version, you created a property like this, right? So you put colon and then another colon, and then it prompts you to create a new property. And we can create one called year, and then it prompts for the property value. So we're just going to put 9. And then so to keep it in this one block. So this section here is a block. That single part there is a block, right? And you'll notice that you can hover over this and it basically creates another page for this. And you can click on that, and anything that you have attached a property of year to will show up down here in the linked references. And then we can also hold shift and press enter, and then we can put another property, color, and then we can make the property gunmetal gray. Okay, so now we have two properties here. This is how it worked in the database version. And if we go over to our file system, and then we can actually look at what it's created. So we can go into, how are we going to open this? No, I didn't think about this. We can open it in a new VS Codium window because it's nicely formatted. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. I don't know if I can zoom in, but this is literally what the file looks like. It created a page. So it created a Markdown file called favorite car. And then within that Markdown file, we have these two properties on the first block. Notice it doesn't put a bullet point next to it. So this is essentially metadata. It's kind of ad hoc metadata for this entry, right? So we have year, colon, 1992, color, colon, gunmetal gray. And then down below was the other block that I created with the name. So by rights, we would put this, I mean, it doesn't matter about how I've formatted it this time, but this is literally how it gets created. So I think now we can jump over to the database version of Logseq. So how does it work in the database version? Well, the database version is quite different, and properties are handled quite a bit different. So we can use the same example, but we'll format it a bit better. And I will run you through exactly how I would write this as I was thinking it, right? So I would start with the time, And then I would say my favorite car is the Nissan Skyline R30. Yeah, we create a new page for that. And then we can also, just in case you want to keep track of what your favorite things are, for example, we would create a tag of favorite. So that way you can click on favorite and you can see like anything that you tag with favorite will show up in this table. But for the properties, we can actually create a property called car. Sorry, a tag called car, and then assign properties to it. So hopefully we'll try and get you into good habits. And this is another way that you can create a template. See this video, I don't know, I'll put a card or something up on the screen for the template, how to create templates. It's basically the same thing, right? So if we create an option for year, and then we will make that a number and then add a property color. That can just be text, because the reason you would choose text is when, you know, there's ambiguity. I mean, how many color names are there, for example? I mean, there's so many different colors. And I mean, technically you probably could, you know, create a node or something, but it, you know, for simplicity's sake, we'll just put it as, and then we'll go in here, and then what we want to do is assign this tag within the title, and that will allow us this metadata. So these items here are the properties. So then we can put the year, and then we can put the color. And so this has created some metadata, and you can minimize it. You can bring it back up. So this has created metadata. And then, you know, this is me writing about the history of this car or whatever. I mean, this is up to you what you want to write there, but this is essentially what properties are. And this is one way that you can use them. And okay, I just went away and I've been trying to think about this because I realized I've been thinking about it in the wrong way. So I'm trying to resolve all of this in my brain, because the way that the database version of Logseq works is, I'm trying to think like how would this be categorized? So let me just draw it out. Okay, so when we're talking about, so tags as in tags. So tags are classes of things, right? But pages are not classes of things. So if we want to do the car example, we have to sort of work backwards now, because now we have to think about what has a hashtag. So let's start build it out bit by bit and see how we go, because this became a lot more complicated than I first realized, and I don't know how to. I want to be able to accurately model things, and I also want to have a good mental model of how to think about these things. So if we think about a car, right? If we have the car hashtag, what is a car? Like, what is a car? What makes up a car? A car has 4 wheels. They can be 2-door or 4-door, just to keep it simple. They have engine or motor, electric, carry passengers. But then, all right, so we even have to rethink this. If we have a car, and then we'll have to come down here, right? And then we put this, because I don't want to actually create it. So then we can do this and indent it within there. Okay, so we've got our car object, so to speak. And then we have to think about, okay, we've got to get a bit more specific. So then we talk about the car make. But that might be like, because you also have to think about how you're going to use things in the future. So I mean, make in English can mean like a car make. It can also mean I want to make something. You could make food, you could make whatever. Okay, so perhaps it's a good idea to pre-append something, but it also seems a bit redundant, right? Because if like we've got car here, but we've also got car here, But anyway, we'll keep it as car make for now, and we'll add the hashtag. So we've got to think about the car make. So this could be, this is, you know, any number of car makes. So you could have like, okay, so I'm starting to understand. Okay, yeah. So within the car hashtag, we could also include color, but brilliant. Okay, so now it's starting to make sense now. It's starting to make a bit more sense now. So we could say like Acura. Do you think we could think of a car name for every letter of the alphabet? I don't think so. B, Bentley, C. Oh, what's a car make that starts with C? Chrysler, Dodge, Ford. Okay, do this and then we'll go Nissan. Okay, so what we want to do here, for this we would need to, so a car is basically every property of what a car would have. You can include that in the car properties specifically, right? I want to try something now and just see whether it works. Okay, so car make. So this property would need a drop down to choose which car make. Okay, and then we want, okay, I can't see another way of doing this, but so for the Nissan, so we would create a hashtag here for Nissan, right? And this would be where but I don't know how that's going to work, because what I was thinking is, say, so we've got car make, okay, and then we want car model, but there's a bit of a discrepancy here, because one hand we need the specific model to then expand in. So, and each point of this is going to be an extends. Okay, so car make is going to extend the car hashtag, and then we want the car model to extend the car make. But the problem is, this would work. So this would work if every car model was the same, this would work. But every car model is not the same. I mean, so, you know, you've got Mustang for Ford, you've got NSX for Acura, Nissan, you've obviously got, you know, Skyline. And then even within like the Skylines, you've got R31, R32, R33, R34, so on. And then you've even within those, I mean, I think like GT, T for like turbo, GTR, like twin turbo, and then you got different versions of them. So this is getting a lot trickier than I thought. And I think it's best if I explore this live so that it makes a bit more sense, so that, you know, other people that watch this can extend upon this and make it make a bit more sense. Because I'm thinking that, okay, so I think instead of having car make, we just skip that and put literally the car make. So instead of car make, so car make can be basically a placeholder. So car make is not literal. It's a placeholder for the actual model. Sorry, make. And that way, so when you create hashtag Nissan, within hashtag Nissan, you can have a drop-down box for model. And car model can contain a list of like technically every car model, and you kind of have to match it. Or within Nissan, you would just create the specific models for Nissan. And then you could also create, so the specific model could also be a hashtag, right? So you could put GTR here, for example. And then, so each one of these steps, we're getting more and more specific to that particular model. So you have to say, okay, well, car has, you know, a 4 wheels, because anything without 4 wheels is not going to be a car. You have 4-wheeled vehicles, and sorry, we can also extend this out further, because, I mean, you've got to take into consideration like motorbikes, trucks, and all the rest of it, all right? So if we say vehicle, like so, and then all of this can be indented underneath vehicle. So then, because the hashtag is the only thing that has an extends property by default. If you create a page like this, it doesn't have an extends property. It only has the properties that it inherits from the hashtag that you add to it. So what I want to try is we'll build all of this out right now, and I want to see if by the end of it, it inherits all of the properties of all of these hashtags previous. So let's start building it out. So what I want to do here is create hashtag vehicle. Whoa, that was vehicle. Create hashtag vehicle. Okay, and then, so this doesn't extend anything. We'll leave the properties blank for vehicle. And then we want to create our car hashtag. So this one extends vehicle. And we can't actually, so with a car, I mean, it has to have a color, right? So if we configure this tag, so we add the property color. We already have color here. And technically you could put the year as well, because that's like the year that a car is built or made or whatever is an inherent property of by default. Okay, and we'll try to make it as basic as possible. But then within car, we will create the Nissan hashtag. So create tag Nissan. And then within this one, we can have a property model. Sorry, not make, because that is the make. So model. And then we will create one for node or no, it's not going to be an asset. It should be a node. We'll put it as a node, right? And new option GTR. I'll be interested to see if that comes up. And that hasn't been working lately. If we configure this tag model, I don't think, okay, cool. So it has added GTR there. Hang on. No, that's fine. All right. So that should be enough. So then now I'm going to get rid of this and just put, I mean, no, actually we can leave that, or should we? I don't know. I'm undecided. What did we put for this? So this has already some car properties. Let's replicate it down here like we're just organically finding it out. So my favorite car is the Nissan Skyline R32. No, it is correct. Okay, so on this one, instead of having the car tag, then we will just tag this with GTR. Okay, let's delete property from node. Delete property from node. Interesting. So why did it not inherit? Why does this one not have any? Okay, because we forgot to extend. All right, so that's a crucial step that you shouldn't forget. Okay, so for each stage, so just make sure. So car extends vehicle. Good. And then Nissan extends car, and then GTR extends Nissan. So now if we go in here, beautiful. So it inherits the properties of all of those elements, right? Set model. It's interesting that that's coming up as a new option. I thought that would be the option. Why is that? I can't set this block itself as own property value. Yeah, so model should just be GTR, or should we write it properly as a new option? Model GTR. Okay, so that, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's, you know, we're making some progress on our learning journey here. Cool. All right, well, I think that's going to do it. I don't want these videos to be super long, so we'll cut it off there. I mean, it should give you a better understanding of how properties work in the database version of Logseq, and it should be enough to get you thinking about how all of these properties and the inheritance and things like that work in the database version. Because the database version is a lot more powerful than the Markdown version. You can do a lot more, but, you know, as inherently comes along with increased complexity or increased, you know, power, the learning curve is also steeper if you want to do things properly. So that'll do it for now. All right, we'll catch you on the flippity flop. See ya.